DC Universe's Titans has provided plenty of Easter eggs for fans to find. There are callbacks to old classics, set pieces in iconic comic book locations, and a whole lot more. Here are the Easter eggs you might have missed in Titans Season 2. Fairly early in the episode Aqualad, we see Arthur Light, aka Dr. Light, torturing Dr. Jacob Finley. For starters, their conversation indicates the two have a history.
Well, I love this gladiator look. Reminds me of the time you went Spartacus on Professor Sue after failing the freshman physics final.
We don't hear a lot of specifics, but the gist of it seems to be that Finley has won respect and fame on Dr. Light's shoulders. They make a reference to failed work Light did that Finley was able to improve upon and subsequently take all the credit for. But that's just the tip of the iceberg regarding the relationship between these two. Let's back up. The name Jacob Finley comes directly from the comics. When we first meet Finley in 1989's Secret Origins number 37, he appears as an apparition to Arthur Light in a Dr. Light costume. A flashback unfolds in which we learn Finley was the original Dr. Light before Arthur Light took up the name. And unlike Arthur Light, Finley wanted to use his abilities for good. After Finley dies, Arthur takes his suit and his powers, but continues to be haunted by Finley's ghost. When Dr. Light tortures Jacob Finley, a blink-and-you'll-miss-it Easter egg pays tribute not to a comic book or another DC-inspired TV show or movie, but to one of Titan's crew. When Dr. Light lays a copy of a magazine in front of Finley, Finley's face is on the cover, and the story on him was written by one James Usas. Well, James Usas isn't a D-list supervillain or a well-kept comic book secret. He's no ding-dong daddy, in other words. Instead, James Anthony Usas is the set designer for every episode of Titan's second season. In the last few years, Usas has also made a name for himself as a set designer on series like The Expanse and Star Trek Discovery. Much of the episode Aqualad revolves around the doomed Garth trying to woo Donna Troy. In one of his conversations with Donna, Garth teases her with a joke about her tongue twister of a homeland, Themyscira.
To the mascara.
It's the mascara, and yes.
This is possibly a reference to a line of makeup that most fans have probably forgotten about. In 2011, MAC Cosmetics released a Wonder Woman-themed line of makeup products, complete with Wonder Woman artwork by renowned artist Michael Allred. The line included such products as Obey Me nail polish, Athena's Kiss lip gloss, and yes, Themyscira Mascara. Toward the beginning of the 5th episode of Season 2, Gar goes into Rachel's bedroom and finds a weird, oily black substance flowing out of and around Raven as she sleeps. Eventually, it cuts Gar, and later in the episode, Rachel shows fresh cuts to Corey on her own back from the nightly events. We don't know what the exact nature of this energy is yet, though it seems obvious it has something to do with how Trigon altered Rachel's powers in the season premiere. As Gar enters the room, there's a shot of something that should probably be raising some alarm bells, though we have yet to hear anyone mentioning it. Posted on a corkboard above Rachel's desk are a number of images that wouldn't necessarily be disturbing if they weren't being drawn by the daughter of a demon. In fact, they're exactly what you'd expect any given evil demonic possessed kid to draw before they go full Brightburn on everyone around them. Rachel's creative side seems to be very interested in black abyssal holes, which is likely connected with the darkness continuing to emerge from Rachel herself. Fans have been waiting for the return of Superboy and Krypto ever since the first season's finale gave us a post-credit scene showing the pair busting out of a Cadmus laboratory. They finally got their wish with the second season's 6th episode, Connor. After revisiting that post-credit scene and giving us a corny commercial for Cadmus, Superboy and Krypto escape from the lab in the cold open of Connor and find themselves faced with the skyline of the famous city of Metropolis. Thankfully, the show's creative team don't forget an important detail: Metropolis's most well-known landmark, the Daily Planet building. The workplace of Clark Kent, the Daily Planet's most recognizable physical feature is the massive ringed globe on top of the building. The Titans crew does a wonderful job with the detail. You wouldn't notice it if you weren't looking for it, but once you do, there's no mistaking what it is. After his escape, Connor walks around Metropolis with Krypto, taking everything in and seeming to revel in it. At one point, he stops and raises his arms, taking in the rays of the sun, visibly overjoyed to be among humanity rather than locked away in a lab. A nearby street vendor is selling shirts, caps, and other Metropolis memorabilia. including a black shirt bearing the Superman logo. The park behind the street vendors is Centennial Park, the fictional Metropolis's answer to New York's Central Park. In DC Comics, Centennial Park is the home of the memorial raised to honor Superman after he dies in battle with the rampaging villain Doomsday. It's a fitting location for Superboy to be as he experiences his own form of rebirth.
Everything that he is experiencing is for the very first time.
In Fallen, Mercy Graves and her commandos raid Titan's tower, recapturing Connor and Krypto. Seeing Gar's transformation powers in action, Mercy decides to bring Gar along for good measure. The episode ends with Gar in a lounge-like prison, watching the 1939 classic The Wizard of Oz. It turns out that there's some meaning to the choice. The scene Gar is watching brings the Wicked Witch's flying monkeys into view, and once you see them, it's difficult to not think of the moment earlier in the episode when Rachel's powers summoned a winged gargoyle who hunts down her new friend's abusive father. In both this episode and the following episode, there are references and reminders of Dorothy's trip to Oz. While speaking to the Phantom Bruce Wayne, Dick refers to Deathstroke's tiny tin heart, a reference to Oz's Tin Man, who has no heart. And considering the brain surgery forced on Gar in that same episode, you could see him singing, "If I Only Had a Brain." The two Luthors mentioned the most in Connor are the infamous Lex Luthor and his father Lionel. But we briefly see at least one more member of the family, Lena Luthor. Unlike her brother, she's actually smiling in the family portrait that Connor finds in the Luthor home, and she's looking lovingly at the same man we know beat Lex after he'd had too much to drink. Lena Luthor has kind of a crazy history in DC Comics. Depending on which comic book you read and when it was published, Lena Luthor is either Lex Luthor's sister or she's his daughter. She's risen to prominence more recently, more so on the small screen than in the comics. Katie McGrath plays Lena Luthor in CW's Supergirl series and became a regular in the 3rd season. Most episodes of Titans take their titles from the name of the character who would be the focus of that particular hour. Season 2's 7th episode, Bruce Wayne, is a departure in that while Bruce Wayne shows up quite a bit, it isn't really Bruce Wayne. When Dick Grayson's mentor appears to him, it becomes clear that this isn't the real Wayne, but Dick Grayson's insecurities haunting him in the form of his surrogate father. One such scene is when Dick goes to a club looking for information on Deathstroke, and Wayne appears on stage. In an unexpected turn of events, he gives us a tribute to the late Adam West.
Hold tight, bat turn.
Ian Glenn's dance is brief, but longtime Batman fans undoubtedly recognized it as a callback to Adam West's campy portrayal of Batman from the 60s. In Batman's first episode, Batman finds himself in a disco with the Riddler's lovely assistant, pulling the trademark moves Glenn's Bruce Wayne gives us on Titans. In Jericho, Slade finally tells his son the truth about who he is. The story is told through a series of flashbacks, all leading up to Jericho meeting his father alone in a church to finally get the truth. The meeting, doesn't go well. Viewers were no doubt expecting to get some concrete answers from that meetup, but sharp-eared viewers may have gotten a wealth of info even earlier in the episode. During the episode's first flashback, you might have missed a super quick mention of a clandestine group called H.I.V.E.
He was part of a special unit called H.I.V.E. Try to relax.
H.I.V.E. has been a mainstay in DC Comics since the early 80s. When they first appear in the pages of New Teen Titans, their acronym stood for Hierarchy of International Vengeance and Extermination. The group has a long history of animosity with the Teen Titans, including close ties with the group known as the Fearsome Five, which includes villains we've already seen on Titans like Shimmer and Dr. Light. Season 2's 9th episode, Atonement, opens with the Titans disbanding, leaving Gar to watch over Connor and Titan's Tower. The subsequent montage shows Gar going from optimistic and excited to bored and stir-crazy in 3 days. Along with everything else, the post-its Gar leaves in the kitchen reflect his devolving mental state through the helpful influence of a couple of great songs and films. On the first day, he posts "Fitter, happier, more productive," a line from Radiohead's "Fitter, Happier." By day 2, his emotions are already sagging a bit, and he writes, "Always look on the bright side of life," which is the song that concludes the classic 1979 religious satire Monty Python's Life of Brian. It is a little strange that Gar chooses this phrase, since the characters singing it aren't exactly in an enviable position at the time. By day 3, Gar is officially stir-crazy, and he lets us know by calling back to the 1980 thriller The Shining. Rather than any affirmations, Gar writes out, "All work and no play makes Gar a dull boy," on multiple post-its and sticks them up in a row. A post-it tribute to the moment in The Shining when Wendy discovers what her homicidal husband has really been up to all winter. Dick Grayson's time in prison represents a major turning point for his character arc, thanks in part to 3 new cellmates. At first, it seems like the 3 are more than happy with the idea of killing Dick, but eventually Grayson learns his cellmates are deserters from a Cordo Maltese cartel, in part because they refuse to kill on the cartel's orders. Instead of allowing themselves to be sent back to Cordo Maltese where they'll be killed, the 3 plan an escape. During the 10th episode, we find Luis, the youngest of the 3 cellmates, carving an image on the wall above his bunk. He eventually tells Dick this is Al Azul, a guardian spirit of his home village that protects his people. In spite of Dick's warnings, Luis is convinced Al Azul will help him escape.
A bird that comes in the night and saves people?
Yes. He's gonna save us tonight, and we'll be free.
That conversation is part of the reason Dick decides to help the inmates near the end of the episode, literally coming out of the night to save them. And sure, the carving on the wall doesn't look much like the costume Dick eventually wears as Nightwing, either here or in the comics. But while Titans goes out of its way to make it clear that this dude is all about some wings, viewers may have missed the subtle meaning of that monochromatic wall carving. The word comes from ala azul, which is Spanish for blue wing. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite shows are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.